Hi everyone, it's Melinda. Today we're going to be looking at Jasper. It's going to be a very interesting video this time, but maybe a little bit long. I do have quite a wide variety of Jasper, and there are so many more that I won't be mentioning today that are out there. There's a wide range of Jasper minerals. So if you're familiar with some of them and not others, and you don't want to invest in watching this entire video, you can certainly skip forward and kind of look for the stones that interest you. But I'm pretty darn excited to go through all of them, to be honest. So Jasper is an opaque form of chalcedony, which is a microcrystalline variety of the mineral quartz. I mentioned that a lot because not everyone knows that. And it often contains an abundance of impurities, and therefore some people refer it more to like as a rock rather than a mineral. It's not technically its own singular mineral, but rather like a large collection of minerals, which appear quite beautiful. That's why there are so many different varieties of them, because they've grown in different ways and they're made up of different a variety of different elements and minerals. So Jaspers are, just utterly fascinating. So I'll start by showing you my red and yellow Jasper. I purchased this one in Glastonbury in the UK, and I absolutely love it. It's been shaped and polished, but, not to the point where you can't see the structure of the rock. I love these big divots we still have here, and I absolutely love this pattern. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And from a distance, it doesn't really look like that impressive of a rock. It looks like a very, typical piece of jasper, which are usually brown, yellow, and reddish colors. So there are those colors, right? But when you look really close up at it, you can see some quartz here. Isn't that just stunning? Oh my gosh, love them. The colors are so vibrant too. Yeah, I just love the pattern. Love that pattern. So Jasper is used to describe other opaque colors of chalcedony, such as darkish green, oranges, as well as the usual brown, yellow, and reds. But the common red color is due to iron inclusions. That's what gives it that bright red color. And there are some forms of jasper that are banded, and some people kind of argue that they should be called agates instead, but unlike agates, they're extremely opaque. So that's why they kind of tend to use the Jasper name instead. There we go. So when you have a piece of jasper that's dull and lacking any interesting colors or patterns, then people would consider it more of a chert rather than a jasper. I think ocean jasper is one that people are typically pretty familiar with. Here's a piece that I also bought in Glastonbury, and I love the seam of quartz with little quartz crystals running through it. Oh my goodness, it's a favorite of mine. There we go. Look inside there. Isn't that just stunning? The pattern of the jasper too. Gorgeous. So there's those orbicular patterns that are typical of ocean jasper. It's kind of its signature look. So that orbicular kind of pattern, sometimes are called orbs or spherical inclusions or zones. They're in highly silified rhyolite or tuff. Quartz and feldspar crystallize in radial aggregates of needle-like crystals, and that provides the basis or seed for the orbicular structure to grow within the jasper. It's most commonly harvested in Madagascar. That's where it's popular. Here's another piece, pendant. And see how it has those typical orbicular structures going on in there. There we go. So many little rings of little tiny mineralized needles make up those circles. It's fascinating. The next piece I want to show you is my Polychrome Jasper, which I also purchased in the UK, in Glastonbury. Sometimes it's referred to as Desert Jasper. The discovery of this stone is fairly new. I believe geologists found it in 2006, and they were actually searching for more of the ocean jasper, like I just showed you. That had kind of run out at that time. So this one was discovered in the deserts of Madagascar, and it was only made available to the public in 2008. So again, it's fairly new. And the deposit was very small. So Polychrome Jasper is a type of opaque, multicolored chalcedony, and it develops in massive formations. And it's believed to be one of the rarest jaspers in the world, so I'm pretty darn excited to have this piece. See if I could get a little bit closer. It has pretty distinctive colors. When you see pieces of it, you kind of know. There we go. The next one's going to be Picture Jasper, which is sometimes referred to as landscape stone. I'm sure you can see why. I absolutely love this jasper. It's one of my favorites. As an artist, to me, it just looks so much like a painting. Oh, I just love it. It's my bigger piece. So Picture Jasper has extraordinary color banding, veining, and flow patterns, again, as you can see, of deposits from water or wind created by petrified or silicate mud, and sometimes, my favorite part, has dendritic inclusions, which would be these lovely black markings you see here. There we go, close up. And I love dendrites. I'm a sucker for dendrites. Someone who went on one of my tours last year was lucky enough to find a piece of quartz with dendrites on it, and I have to admit, I'm so jealous. Oh. Yeah, isn't that just an amazing stone? Wicked. The next one is Mookite Jasper. Mookite. Sorry if I'm butchering that. This one's pretty popular too these days. So Mookite Jasper is actually an Australian jasper. It comes from Mooka Creek in the Kennedy Ranges of Western Australia. It's actually silicified radiolarite or radialarite. Not a chert or chalcedony or opalite. So people actually argue that it's not even technically a jasper. typically it has this deep dark red with this vibrant yellow. Sometimes people make cabs and things out of just the red, and I feel like they're beautiful, but it's so, you know, typical of the stone to have a little bit of yellow included. But all rocks are beautiful rocks. The next one is one of my very favorite specimens from like my entire collection. I absolutely love this piece. It's called Silver Leaf Jasper. And again, you can see why. It just looks like it's full of silver leaves. Isn't that stunning? Oh, just love it. So this is a very particular stone. It combines jasper, agate, and quartz into very complex formations, as you can see. There's something called black silver leaf jasper, which has darker, blacker areas, and sometimes includes red inclusions, whereas silver leaf like this just has more of the soft, pinky areas. So this type of stone mainly comes from Africa and Russia. Some people also confuse this stone for porcelain jasper, which does look very similar. But porcelain jasper tends to have reds and oranges more, so yeah, so the two often do get confused. The next one we'll talk about is Bloodstone. It is such a dark stone, but I hope you're seeing the little bits of red. So it is also frequently called heliotrope, and I'm possibly butchering that word as well. But like many other jaspers, it's a cryptocrystalline mixture of quartz, and it mostly occurs as opaque jasper, but sometimes this one can be a little bit translucent and would then be considered more of like a chalcedony. The classic bloodstone, and this is certainly a classic one, is a dark green jasper with red inclusions that would be caused by hematite. That's what these little red dots are. I hope you can see them. Let's see if I can get closer. There we go. Melinda, just get closer. Jeez. There we go. So those red hematite inclusions are supposed to kind of look like drops of blood, which is why it has its nickname, Bloodstone. Its other name, heliotrope, which I may also be butchering, heliotropy, perhaps, derives from various ancient notions about the manner in which it reflected light, because heliotrope is from the Greek word helios, which means sun. I like Bloodstone personally, but I'll take both names, that's fine. So Bloodstone is often mixed up with this next one called Dragon's Blood Jasper, because they both have that blood and they are both green and red, so they do get confused quite often. This one is from Western Australia. That's typically where the stone is mined. And it is wonderfully patterned. Like, I just absolutely love it. And contains dark green epidote, as the matrix, I suppose, and then it's spotted with deep red tones, which are usually the result of the mineral piedmontite. And local lore, where this is mined, has it that these stones are formed from the remains of ancient dragons. You know, the green being their skin and the red being their blood. It is a beauty. I absolutely love them. And very much like Dragon Blood Jasper, Unikite also includes green epidote. However, it is technically not a jasper. It is an altered granite composed of pink orthoclase feldspar. So what we're seeing pink here is feldspar, and like I said, in a green epidote. If it does not have that pink feldspar in it, it is not considered unikite. Sometimes it is labeled as such. In that case, if it is lacking the pink feldspar, it's called epidocite, not unikite. Some folks think that the red jasper can kind of replace this pink feldspar, but that is highly debatable. And by that I mean some people consider epidote with red jasper to be unikite. Sorry if that wasn't clear. One last look. There we go. And then I have this bracelet too that I purchased in Bali, Indonesia. The artist in me loves this next one, Picasso Stone. Wonderful name for a very interesting stone. So some people do refer to this as Jasper, Picasso Jasper, but it's actually a type of marble, a metamorphosed limestone rock of crystallized dolomite or calcite. It's a mixture of blobs of limestone, dolomite, mud, clay, and sand, generally. And it makes these really beautiful lines that truly look like an artist's work. But the earth is a beautiful artist, I must say. Quite a talented artist. And we have all of this to prove it. The next one is another big favorite of mine in my collection, Bumblebee Jasper. Look at the colors and the patterns! Oh my god. Oh, come on, minerals. They just outdo themselves over and over again. It's crazy. It's so beautiful. So Bumblebee Jasper is actually one of the first Jaspers that I learned was debated, was not truly considered a Jasper, possibly more an agate. It's actually a combination of volcanic matter, anhydrite, hematite, manganese oxide, sulfur, arsenic, realgar, and orpiment, and calcite. That's what makes up all of these different layers, what creates all of these beautiful colors. It's absolutely amazing. It can be really quite translucent, especially in certain areas. I suppose that's probably why it is debated as possibly an agate rather than a jasper. And you can probably guess why it is nicknamed Bumblebee Jasper. It's because of these beautiful colored stripes that I guess are kind of like reminiscent of a bumblebee's color. I think it's aptly named. I like it. And the yellow coloring is due to sulfur, which I am deathly allergic of, and here I am holding it. And it's actually quite toxic to most people, as is arsenic, which is also included in there. So, you know, people will often say, wash your hands after using it, don't touch your mouth or your eyes, that kind of thing. I probably won't fuss after this, so you should just do as I say and not as I do. People do fuss a lot about hazardous minerals, but I think unless you're really working with that mineral, then of course in that case, if you're working with the mineral, you should be wearing a mask no matter what mineral you're working with. But I think just by holding it gently and displaying it, you're not really going to hurt yourself. So its known locations are inside volcanoes in Australia and in Indonesia. And I'll go a little bit closer for you. See if we can... Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, absolutely mind-blowing. It can be quite expensive. Look at the texture. Oh, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The next one is a highly controversial stone, Kambaba Jasper, also known as Kambaba Stone. However, it was originally called green stromatolite jasper and nicknamed at that time Crocodile Jasper because of the orbs inside of it looking kind of like amphibian eyes. But it has since been renamed as Kambaba Jasper, Kambaba Stone. It is believed to be an extremely old stone dating back to 3 million years ago. It's formed in Madagascar and South Africa only. It's a sedimentary stone consisting of, again, like I keep repeating it, but it's so fascinating to me, microcrystalline quartz, and a primordial form of blue-green algae. And you may be familiar with these ancient fossils as they comprise the stone stromatolite. Stromatolites are the oldest known fossils and one of the earliest records of life on Earth. They date as far back as 3.8 billion years ago, and the Earth itself is only thought to be 4.5 billion years old, so the fact that these creatures were in existence at such an early, stage of Earth's existence is pretty astronomical. Yeah, and when I purchased this, that was kind of what I knew of the stone and was, in awe of it and in awe of its history and certainly really wanted a piece. I found out later that it's actually quite controversial, that some people don't believe that that's what this stone is comprised of, that that's how it was made. There's a lot of debate surrounding this topic on Mindat or Mindat, depending on how you pronounce it. It's a website that talks about all minerals and digging locations and, mines still in work or abandoned ones. It's really a very, very valuable website to use if you're into minerals. But on that site, there's a lot of debate about whether or not that's the true story of this stone. And apparently someone had the mineral tested in an institute in Germany. So I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm too excited. And the greenish color rock consisted of quartz, agrine, albite, and feldspar. Whereas the black rounded aggregates consisted of amphibole needles, usually rebectite or paragasite. So it's certainly consisting of these minerals, or at least that's what the discussion is about on Mindat right now. So either way, it is a beautiful and fascinating stone. I'm quite happy to have one in my collection. Sometimes people confuse it for malachite, which is a completely and utterly different mineral, but it shares a green color, not this green, a very, very vibrant, cool green, whereas this one is a yellowy sort of green, I would say. But I guess because of malachite can sometimes have rings in its formation, so I suppose newbies might see this and think malachite. However, it is more notoriously confused for nebula stone. And Nebula Stone is quite different from Kambaba Jasper, but they look extremely similar. The only difference really is that Kambaba has a green background with black circles, and Nebula Stone has the opposite. It's a black background with green circles. And that's, once you know it, that's a pretty easy way to tell them apart, really. See if we can get closer. There we go. Really interesting. Yeah. The next one is often misnamed as Rainforest Jasper when it's actually not a Jasper at all. It's a rhyolite. So it should be called Rainforest Rhyolite, and it is sometimes referred to that properly. It all depends. There we go. Love the textures in this one. So it came from a molten flow of magma from the now extinct Mount Hay volcano near Queensland, Australia. 120 million years ago is when it was formed. Pretty darn cool. The thick rhyolite magma that escaped from deep within the volcano was heavier, so it settled down through the lighter magma, and as it settled towards the bottom of the mix, it cooled slower, allowing the formation of spherical crystalline structures to form. And we can see, if I can get closer, the beautiful spherical structures within this stone. Like, there's a perfect one. But on a smaller level, they are literally everywhere throughout this stone. So the result of how it was created is these quartz feldspar orbs or nodules. It's absolutely amazing. Here's my little tiny, little tumbled. Not overly impressive, but still quite pretty. Oh. I mean, if you can't already tell, Rainforest Jasper got its name from the beautiful yellow, green, and red and brown, creams and oranges, the colors that make it up. This is quite, reminiscent of a scene in a rainforest. Although it is incorrect to associate it with the rainforest itself. It doesn't actually come from there. It's just a nickname based on its appearance. It sounded better than spherulitic rhyolite, which is, I guess, technically what it is. But rainforest rhyolite definitely has a prettier ring to it and, gives justice to its gorgeousness. There's a nice ring hiding there beside some quartz. Yeah. Another one that is constantly misidentified as a jasper is Dalmatian Jasper, which should technically be called Dalmatian Stone. There we go. So it's a pale gray cream or beige brown stone made of feldspar and quartz, with the black and brown spots usually being iron oxide, tourmaline, or other mineral inclusions, anything that will make it resemble the coat of a Dalmatian breed of dog. That's where it gets its name from, right? However, most people believe that the black is scoral tourmaline, black tourmaline. However, someone had some of these specimens tested, and it turned out that it was, and I'm going to butcher this name so badly, but please excuse me, Arv Vedsonite, Arfedsonite, which is an amphibole, a black amphibole that would have at one point been nicknamed hornblende, like a lot of other minerals were named hornblende at some time and are now being tested and given true names. So while some people believe it's black tourmaline, some of it, at the very least, because some has been tested, is, and again, I'm going to be terrible at this, but Arfedsonite. And the white material is just some mineral albite, like a plagioglass feldspar, and lesser amounts of quartz. So experts would not consider this a jasper at all. They would consider it an igneous rock. And most of this material comes from Chihuahua, Mexico, which is kind of hilarious that it comes from Chihuahua and is yet named for another dog, Dalmatian. I just think that's cute and quirky. I love that. You will often find Dalmatian stone dyed a huge variety of colors and put into jewelry and things like that. It is really frequently dyed, but this is what a natural look would be. Yeah. All right, everyone. You stuck through it. Here are all of the Jasper specimens that I currently have in my collection. I'm so glad you guys were here to enjoy them all with me. That was so much fun. Thanks again, for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!